Just give me a moment, class. I'll go find something sharp. Sorry about that. Right. It's already 8 a.m. So we'll start. I'm sorry. If you hear me sneezing and I can't mute the mic, it's because of my flu. I really sneeze a lot, right? But I'm sorry if I do so and do not have the time to mute my mic. So good morning, everyone. Let's start today's class. It's already 8:01. I know it's a bit chilly, really hard for us to wake up, right? But we have to do so. It's a new day, a new class session. To start our class, let's pray. Miss Mai, could you guide us in prayer, please? Thank you, Miss Mai. So last last session we covered about multiplication and division of fractions. I asked you to please review converting a mixed fraction to an improper fraction, right? Today we are doing another thing, another topic. So let's remember our class rules. Please be on time, be prepared, turn on your cameras, mute your mic. You need to have the self-confidence to share your thoughts, your ideas, your answers. Respect others. If someone is sharing, do not make fun of them, and no eating. So to start our class, I want you to solve a problem, right? This is the problem. I'll give you, let's say, 1 to 2 minutes for you to solve it, and I want to see what your answer is. This is something we did last week, right? So if you want to do it mentally, if you need your notebook, then you can do so. Let's just solve the problem. One more minute. Okay, we have the first answer from your colleagues. Okay. It looks like some of you are finished. Some of you are saying 11. Some of you are saying 9. What is the first thing that we do in this question? What is the first thing that we start solving?
Multiply.
Do we multiply or do we
Divide.
divide?
Divide.
Miss.
Very good. We are dividing, right? Because order of the two of them comes first. That is where we start. So in this case, we see that the division comes before the multiplication. We are working from left to right. Do not forget that. So that is why we need to do the division first. And 18 divided by 3 is 6. So now we have our new expression, which is 6 minus 7 plus 2 times 5. That is when we do the multiplication, right? Because multiplication should be made before the subtraction. So 2 times 5 is 10. So now we have 6 minus 7 plus 10, right? And we start with left to right. So because addition and subtraction work in that way where you start from left to right, the subtraction is first here. So we have to do 6 minus 7, which is equal to -1, plus the 10, which is 9. So your answer is 9, not 11. Please remember the order, right? So now that we have take a look at this question or this problem, do you think fractions follow the same order of operation as whole numbers as what we just did now? Do you think fractions follow that same order? Who says yes and who says no? Okay, some of you are saying yes. What about the rest of you? Are you confused? Are you thinking? Yeah, do not be afraid to say yes or no. It's just yes or no, right? We will not judge you for saying that. Okay, many of you are saying yes. Why do you think so? Why do you think that it follows or does not follow the same order of operation? One person who wants to share why they think it follows the same order of operation. It can be in parentheses. Okay, a fraction can be inside parentheses. Good observation. What else? Why do you think it follows the same? For those of you that said yes, why do you think it follows the same order? Good, right? Because in dealing with fractions, we still are dealing with the four basic arithmetic operations, right? So they need to have an order to do the correct operations. So in today's class, we'll take a look in about order of operations with fractions, right? So if you do not remember order of operations, last week we covered some of it, right? But with whole numbers, in this case, we are just modifying it to fractions. So today's class will be based on order of operations with fractions. Now, to start our lesson, what is the acronym we use for order of operation? What is the acronym we use for order of operation? Very good, Ryan and Yuri. It is Pemdas, right? We are using Pemdas in order of operation, right? That is the acronym that we use for whole numbers, and that is the same acronym that we use with fractions. So remember that in the sequence in which the multiple operation in an expression should be solved. So the order of operation is just the rule that tells you which operation you should do first, second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth. A way to remember the order of operation is PEMDAS, right? Where in each letter stands for a mathematical operation. So we know that PEMDAS is an acronym for parentheses, where parentheses take the precedence over all operation. That should be done first, right? If we have an expression with addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, we have a parenthesis also in that expression, we should automatically know that the parenthesis will be solved first, right? So I have a little example there. In fractions, work out all numerators and denominators before calculating, right? So let's see in this example that I have here, I have a half plus the fifth. These are unlike fractions, right? So first we should work out the LCM, do the steps that we do for addition, and solve the parentheses, right? That is how we do this. Now, work, sorry, I'm sorry. I don't know what happened with my slide. Just a moment. Okay. I'm sorry about that. I think my internet is not stable. Okay, so what follows after parentheses is exponents, right? There are still exponent in fraction that doesn't disappear, right? So work out all the exponential expression. So I have an example. If I have half to the power of 2 or half squared, we know we should solve that second. If we do not have any parentheses, then we solve it first. But if we have parentheses, now we move on to exponents, right? So what comes after exponents? Let me hear. What comes after exponents?
Multiplication.
Could you repeat?
Multiplication.
Multiplication and division, right? Why? Multiplication and division, moving from left to right. Please do not forget this. Moving from left to right, multiply and or divide whichever comes first, right? So if we have an expression that has both multiplication and division, if you are working from left to right, you will say which one comes first and you will solve for either of the two. So if multiplication comes first, you will do multiplication. But if division comes first, then you will do division. Do not forget this. Please do not confuse with addition and subtraction. If you have a subtraction and a multiplication, you still do the multiplication and or division first. Why? Because that is the order, that is the third, right? That comes third in our order. So either multiplication and division should be computed before addition and subtraction. Even though the two of them are working from left to right, do not confuse them. Why? Because first we do multiplication and division. If we have an example where we have subtraction, multiplication, division, you will start from left to right doing multiplication and division first. It should be computed before addition and subtraction. So we start with multiplication and division. When we have finished With that, then is when we compute for subtraction or addition, right? And as I mentioned, moving from left to right, add or subtract, whichever comes first. Do not mix multiplication and division with addition and subtraction, because if you notice, one has number 3 and one has number 4. Why? Because one should be done first than the other, right? Any questions with this one? Any questions?
No, miss.
No, miss.
If you have some questions, you can ask, I will always try to answer your questions, right? Okay. Okay, then let's move on. So we have our first example here. Simplify negative 1/3 plus a half multiplied by, and we have in parentheses 4/5, right? There is no work to be done inside the parentheses. There are no exponents, so start with step 3, which is step 3 to multiply or divide by this. In this case, we have multiplication, right? So we multiply the half and the 4/5. Remember that in multiplication, we just multiply straightforward numerator with numerator, denominator with denominator, right? We just multiply. So we multiply that half by the 4/5, and now we have 4/10, right? So what we do is we bring down our negative 1/3 right here plus 4/10, right? So there is no multiplication and division now, so we have to add, right? But how we have to add? We have to find our, or what? What should we find in order for us to add unlike fractions? Very good, the LCM, right? So we find the LCM. We use equivalent fractions. Let's say the LCM of this question is 30, right? So we can either do which number times 3 gives me 30. We know it is 10. So we multiply the denominator and the numerator, right? So we have negative 10 now over 30 plus. Now the next fraction, by what we should multiply to give us 30, that is 3. So because we do it to the denominator, we have to do it to the numerator, right? For us to have a like fraction. So now we just compute, and we have our answer, which is 2 over 30 or 1 over 15 if we are to simplify, right? Why? Because 2 can go into 30 how much times? 15. So 2 can go into itself 1 time, and 2 can go into 30 15 times. So that is why we simplify here. Any questions with this example?
Sorry about that, Mrs. It was my connection.
Okay, listen. Any questions with this example? So I move to the other example. We also have another example. We have 2 examples here, right? We have 1/4 to the 3rd power divided by 1/8 to the 2nd power minus 1/16. So what is the first thing that we will do in this question? Do we have parentheses?
Yes, miss.
Yes, right? So that should be solved first. So because we have 1/4 to the 3rd power, that doesn't mean you will multiply 1/4 by 3. I noticed some of you made that made that mistake in a previous assignment. 1/4 to the third power does not mean 1/4 times 3. It means 1/4 times 1/4 times 1/4, 3 times 1/4, right? Not 1/4 multiplied by 3, but we have, you will still get confused. What we notice in the little example here is that we have 3, right? We have 3 here. That is what this 3 symbolizes with the 1/4. And we also have 1/8, right? Squared. So because this is squared, we have 1/8 times 1/8. Now, what we do, we simplify this. We compute for this. 1/4 times 1/4 times 1/4. How much is that? We just multiply the numerator. 1 times 1 times 1, which gives us 1. And 4 times 4 gives us 16. And 16 times 4 gives us 64. So we have 1/64 for this one. Now, we bring down our multiplication sign, division sign. And we compute for this one. 1/8 times 1/8. We just multiply the numerators. 1 times 1 gives us 1. And 8 times 8 gives us 64. And we bring down the 1/6. So we have a new expression here. So what will we do now? We have 1/64 divided by 1/64 minus 1/6. So what we will do now? We have gotten rid of the parentheses, exponents. Now what comes? Multiplication and division. So do we have any of these in this new expression that we have made?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, right? We have division. So this is what we will solve first. But how do we do division? Just yesterday we covered that. 1/64. That we keep the same, right? The first fraction, we keep the same. We change our sign to multiplication and we just flip the other fraction. So now we have 64/1. When we compute that, we have 1, right? Because the 64 can cancel with the 64 and we just have 1. We bring down our minus 1/6. So 1 minus 1/6 is 5/6. How do we get this? We know that 1 can be represented as 1/1, 2/2, 3/3, 4/4, 5/5, 6/6. In this case, we use 6/6 to have like denominators, right? And that is how we get 5/6. Any questions with this example?
No, miss.
No, miss.
Okay, let's solve 2 questions together. So in this question, which we will solve first? In the first one, 3/4 minus 2/3, 1/2 plus 2/5. Which one will we solve first?
1/2 plus 2/5.
Right, the parentheses will be solved first. So what will we do to solve that parenthesis? We have unlike fractions, so how will we solve that? How will we solve the expression that is inside the parentheses? Yes, we will add, right? But those are unlike fractions. So what do we need to do now? How do we convert them to like fractions? Very good. We have to find the LCM. So what is the LCM of 2 and 5? What is the LCM of 2 and 5?
10, Miss.
Very good, right? It is 10. 10. Now, since we have 10, what should we multiply 2 to get 10?
5 is
2 times
5,
what gives me
Miss.
10? 5, right? So if I know that if I multiply 2 times 5, I get 10, then I have to multiply the numerator by 5 too, right? So 1 times 5
5.
is
5.
5. Very good. Now moving to the next question. 5 times what gives me 10?
5
2.
times
5
Times 2.
times 2.
Very good. 5 times 2. So if we know that 5 times 2 will give us the denominator, which is 10, we have to multiply the numerator by 2 also. So 2 times 2 is
4.
4.
4, right? So when we add this, what do we get?
9/10.
Very good. 9 over 10, right? So that will substitute now that parenthesis there. So we have 3/4 minus 2/3 times 9 over 10. So what will we do now? Which operation will we do now? Multiplication or subtraction?
Multiplication.
Very good. We will do the multiplication first. That comes before addition and subtraction. So how much is 2/3 times 9 10? We just multiply numerator and with numerator and denominator with denominator. So what should we have now? Anyone? What should we have? 18 over 30. Very good. So our final step now will just be to find the LCM of these two and to compute, right? I will not go over that because you can do that by yourselves. So the second question that I have here, what will we do first? We have 2/3 plus 1/4 plus 2 1/2 minus 1 1/4. What would we do first?
Parentheses.
The parentheses, very good. But we have two parentheses, so we can work with these together or start with one and then with the another, right? So if we start with, let me start with the two of them, right? We can do the two of them. So 2/3 plus 1/4, we still have to find our common multiple. I'm sorry. So of 3 and 4, that will be 12, right? So top here we have 8, if I'm not mistaken. And here we have 12, 3, right? If you do not know how to get this, we have done one previously. So 8 plus 3 gives me 11 over 12. So that is the first one. Now, what will we do to the second parenthesis? What we should do first? We have a mixed fraction there, so what should we do?
Turn it into improper.
Very good. We should convert it to an improper fraction. And how do we convert? We do 2 times 2, which gives us 4,
Plus 1.
right? Plus 1, which gives us 5. So we put 5 over which one? 1 or 2?
2.
2, right? Minus, what will be the next fraction here?
4/1.
4 over 1.
4
4,
5, I mean. 5 over 1. 5 over 4. 5 over 4.
5 over
5 over
4, right? 5 over 4. In brackets, we find the LCM of this. We do our subtraction, and when we have our final answer, we add it to the 11 plus 12, right? Because we should finish the parentheses first, and that is the process that is being made. Any questions?
No, miss.
Please do not get confused with the operations or with the conversion from a mixed fraction to an improper fraction, right? So let's do these 2 questions on your own. I think we have time. Yeah. We have 1 more minute. Okay. Let me see. Let's send our answer for question 1. If you are finished, send your answer for number 1. Even though you are not sure of your answer, we will take a look at it, right? We're 15, sees Jaran. Okay. What is the first step that you did?
Division. Division.
Divide, right? But we have to turn divide by 1/3. So what should happen to that division sign?
Multiplication.
It turns into multiplication and we just flip, right? We flip our result. So what should be our new answer there?
6 over 3. I mean, 6 over 3.
And isn't 6 over 3 2?
You can repeat, Miss?
Isn't 6 over 3 2? Have 1, and we just multiply the 2 by the 1, and we have 2. But the 6 over 3 is not wrong there. So when we subtract by 2/5, if we subtract the 2, let's see, if we subtract 2, if we have 2 minus 2/5, because that should be the actual number that you should have, 2 minus 2/5, then we should convert 2 to a fraction, right? If we do 2 over 1, and then we find our LCM, that would work. Or if you just find a fraction that gives you 2, for example, in this case, I use 10 over 5. Why? Because when I divide the 10 by the 5, it gives me 2, right? So you can either have 2 over 1 minus 2/5 or 10 over 5 minus 2/5. Your answer should be 8 over 5. So if you did not got that answer, you should probably go back and try to solve that again. Do not get confused with the LCM, right? I think that is the main issue here. So what did you get for number 2? Let me take a look. What did you get for number 2? Okay, Gerald hasn't finished number 2. Okay, so if you haven't finished number 2, then we will finish that tomorrow, right? For tomorrow's class, I think I will start a little I will start tomorrow's lesson with that example, and then we move on to what we need to do tomorrow. Right, so to wrap up our lesson, when I'm asked what I did in math today, I can say, let's finish the sentence. When
Yes,
I'm asked what I did in math today, I can say,
Miss,
yes.
that I learned a lot of how to solving fractions, Miss, in a easy way.
Okay, thank you, Ernest. Fractions in order of operations, solving fractions. Okay, good. Anybody else wants to share? If only those persons shared, I assume that only those persons are learning. Solving fractions in order of operations, how to solve fractions with order of operations. Good, right? So I hope you don't forget the order in which fractions should be solved also. Please remember, Pemdas is very useful for you, right? So share one thing you would like more information about. Tell me in the chat box or unmute yourself. Tell me one thing you would like more information about. Ryan says solving fractions. Ryan, what do you mean by solving order of operation, addition, subtraction, multiplication, division?
Miss,
Oh, Ryan. Yes.
when you're solving a fraction, Miss, and you get a negative number, Miss.
When you get a negative number, we aren't dealing with negative numbers right now, but okay, we can do that. One question on question number 1, Miss, I didn't understand. Okay. So, because we will run out of time again if I explain it to you, right? I think you understand better when I solve it for you in the Jamboard, right? When we follow up together, right? So I will do that in tomorrow's lesson, for the beginning of tomorrow's lesson. The last two questions that you had to do on your own, right? The problem comes when you have to do it on your own, because I'm not there to tell you this is what you should do first, this is what you should do second, this is what, right? So please practice it, and then tomorrow we will take a look at the 2 questions that I gave you to solve on your own, right? It's because I don't want to go back and show you how to do LCM, show you how to convert an improper fraction, because that really throws us off. It is not what we should cover in the lesson. That is what you should know. The proper, I mean, of a mixed fraction to a improper fraction, and also review LCM, because this is very important in fractions, right? So thank you for sharing what you need more information about. I will solve the two last questions for you in tomorrow's class. So to end our class, what I want you to do is to work on your bookmarks. Remember last week I asked you to do a bookmark for order of operation in whole numbers. Then in this case, let's do for order of operations with fractions, and include your example. So if you remember parentheses or whatever for PEMDAS is, then just write maybe PEMDAS, and in the P just put an example of fractions, not whole numbers, because it will confuse you. Of fraction. If you move to the E, if you do not want to write exponents, but you can remember, or you can take a look at what you had last class, you know it would be exponents, sorry, on last week that you did, then you should have exponents, and just write a little example there, right? So let's do that for the final 3 minutes that we have of the class session.
Miss,
Yes, Ernest?
something like this.
Yes, but now add a little bit, let's say fractions, order of operation with fractions, and write the P and include an example, right, of a fraction inside a parenthesis. Why? Because it will confuse you if you do not have the example of fractions. You do not have to include it big, as long as you can read it, because in the following 2 weeks we will add some more information to it, right? So if you do not finish into this class, please finish it. As I mentioned, it will help you when doing your assignments. Especially this week, you also have order of operations, right, of fractions in your assignment. So having you a little bookmark that reminds you, oh, this is the operation I will do first, this is the operation I will do second, then that is how we deal with it, right? Ernest, have you added a little bit of information to your bookmark?
No, miss, se me dobló mi papel, miss.
Oh my, se te dobló tu papel. Okay, as I mentioned, if you do not finish it, please your assignments, or even in class sessions, right? If you want to answer a question and you do not know which order comes If you have your little bookmark there with the Pemdas, you can always answer a question. Oh, this comes second, this comes third, right? So it's really useful and helpful for you. So that is the end of today's class.
Miss,
I will see you. Yes,
I have an idea,
Ernest?
Miss, if I can do my bookmark, Miss, in form of a pyramid, Miss.
Well, it's your
Can I do so?
creativity, Ernest. If you want to do it like that, you can do it however you want, as long as you do it for your own good, right? And if you lost your bookmark, then that means you just have a little more of work to do, right? So that's the end of today's class. I hope you enjoy the rest of the day. Have fun in your other classes, and I will see you tomorrow, right? Mariel and Pascual, you two submitted your assignments, but I do not see a file there. It's empty. It writes that you have submitted it, but I couldn't grade it because it doesn't have a document or a picture, nothing, right? So please submit that again if you can, so that I can take a look at it, right? So that is it, guys. See you tomorrow. Goodbye.
Bye, Miss.
Bye, Miss.
Bye, Miss. Have a nice day, Miss.
Bye, Miss.
Goodbye.
Bye, Miss. Hope you get better.
Thank you, Loriani. Goodbye.
Bye, Miss.
Goodbye.
Bye, Miss. Bye, Miss.
Bye, Miss.
Miss Catzim.
Bye, Miss.
Bye.
Bye, Miss.
Goodbye.
Bye, Miss Mai.
Bye, Miss Mai.